Hey y'all, welcome back to the never-ending struggle with an old car. So here, my '02 Corvette. I've been having some issues with some grounding, which is pretty infamous when it comes to these vehicles. Uh, so, driving home the other day, all of a sudden, the throttle control went out, which means it goes into what's called reduced power mode or limp mode. Essentially, the car goes into a high idle, about 1500 RPM, and you have no throttle pedal, none at all. This is commonly caused by these grounding blocks right here, or splice connectors, giving way. So there's 13 grounding points on the car. Primary cause for these issues is just being old and having corrosion and all kinds of good stuff forming up in these little blocks. There's one here and there's one located on the other side by the headlight right up there by the coolant hose. So, 5 miles from my house, car decides, all right, I'm gonna go no more than 10 miles an hour. So I'm in the center lane, just chugging along, loud, like this car's loud, man. And yeah, it sucked. So I'm over here thinking, oh man, my throttle body's done. I'm over here thinking, TPS sensor went out, blah, blah, blah. Checked all the resistances with multimeter on all these things, and everything looked good. And it was just boggling my mind. Car was down for like 2-3 days. What ended up happening was check all the fuses, and I see that my throttle control fuse is blown, which is on here number 17, I believe. Yeah, so fuse 17, which is 15 amp fuse, and it was a mini fuse, obviously, and then it was popped. So I'm like, all right, cool. Throw in another fuse. Magically, it worked. Well, a few days later, I'm over at the lake, and I was hanging out with the boys. Drove there just fine. Went to work. The car started, ran, felt great. There was a little bit of hesitation, so I was just thinking, oh yeah, I unplugged the battery for a while, so maybe it's got to relearn a little bit. The car does have kind of a dirty tune on it. Get to the lake, park it, go to start the car, boom, instantly reduced engine power. I'm like, alright, cool, this sucks. So, buddy's down there, we go to the hardware store real quick, grab a multimeter and another thing of fuses. I grabbed the 25 amp fuses because I am messing around with this. It kept popping fuses left and right, so I'm like, this is a bad idea, we're going to burn out something else. Managed to get the car home. I thought, okay, well, maybe the harness back here by the throttle bodies where it wraps around the back of the engine. I was like, all right, maybe it's chafed on that bracket, because on the number one side there's a bracket, a steel bracket back there that's common known for chafing through the engine or engine harness. And what ended up happening was, all right, cool, I'll just wiggle that harness around a little bit. Boom, car started right up. Didn't pop any more fuses. Cool, we're good to go. One thing I noticed though, and I should have taken this into cue, was that the daylight DRLs, daytime running lights, they were only illuminating amber, kind of a dull amber. I have switchback LEDs in here, and they're usually, daytime running lights are usually white, really bright white. They were only amber. Like, alright, well that's weird. So I'm like, alright, well I'm gonna go ahead and do some basic troubleshooting. Thought maybe the bulbs are bad, switched them around, nothing happened. Jumped over here, looked at all the lights, started pulling relays and things, making sure that everybody was clicking and everything was happy. Seemed happy to me. My dumbass didn't check the headlights. So I have duty, and for anybody who's in the military, y'all know duty sucks. So I go home, get around midnight. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go home. My runner's gonna be there, or the NCOIC, and the headlights didn't want to work. I start the car, get ready to go, turn it on, boom, no headlights. Well, not completely. Headlight motors didn't work, so the headlights didn't want to pop up. So I pull into a gas station so I can get some light to see what the hell's going on down here. And I'm like, oh shit. All the headlights are on, kinda. That one was on, this one was kind of dim. Fuck, we're still having issues. So manually extend the lights, get home, start looking at things, start poking and stuff. And I had cleaned these previously, so you disassemble. There's two little clips on there. You pull the block off, and you just go in there, you clean the corrosion, reseat everything, make sure everything looks good, tested all the connectors, and I'm getting an errant voltage on that block, so I'm getting like 10 volts to that block somehow, and it's kind of bugging me. Oh, what the hell? My charger fell out. I bet you one of these kids. Alright, there we go. Anyways. So, I'm getting errant voltage over there, so I start wiggling things. The next thing I know, I find the lights flickering, the amber and the white. So that means that there's a grounding problem with that block. Fast forward, I decided, all right, cool, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this completely. Because if anybody has seen the engine bay of a C6, C6s get rid of these stupid little blocks right here, and they go to basically a grounding strap, which is what I'm getting at here. So ordered a new set of grounding straps, so really nice copper grounding straps. Ordered a terminal block, and what's going to end up happening is I'm going to cut off this stupid block right here, splice the wire in, extend it, and I'm going to run the ground somewhere easier to access on both sides. Tie them all into a single terminal, and then that terminal is going to be grounded to multiple points on the chassis. I'll probably end up sealing them with some potting compound, because being exposed to the elements and to corrosion and all kinds of good stuff is the main cause to have a lot of grounding issues. And, these cars made out of freaking plastic, fiberglass, whatever they want to call it, it has a lot of grounding issues. So having multiple redundant grounding points will help alleviate some of that. Also, I know that since I'm having grounding issues, I'm probably eroding my aluminum radiator because I forgot to order the anode for it. So anytime you have a aluminum radiator, it's subject to electrolysis, and it will basically erode the terminal path or the coolant passages inside the radiator. So that's another thing I got to deal with. I just don't want to drain all my coolant out of there right now. That'll happen on the next oil change. But yeah, all the parts are on their way here. I've got some here, but I want to make sure I do it 100% right the first time and not messing around with it again. So I'll probably end up grounding it to the engine block and from the engine block to the frame. And then seal the frame. So I'll take the potting compound or like Pro Seal or something. Anybody who has worked with electronics knows it's best to seal them. And it'll be grounded to the block. The block will then be grounded to the frame, and it'll be on both sides. It'll be exactly the same. So in the case that one side decides it wants to eat some corrosion, it'll have the current will have a passage to the next grounding block into another grounding point. So it'll be 4 in total instead of just 2 grounding points for the terminal blocks. Other than that, the car's been real good, but I'll make another video here when we're doing the work so you guys can see exactly what I'm going to be doing. So I'll be extending these little wires right here. I'll probably be extending them maybe another a foot each. So let's see how many are here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 splices. We'll splice them. We're not going to do all that butt connector bullshit. We're going to make sure we do it right the first time. I'll be tinning the wires and soldering them all together. And then from there, they'll be extended to the terminal block. Terminal block, again, like I said, has a grounding nut on it. So the grounding nut will have a copper grounding strap, so heavy gauge grounding strap. So I want all that current to get through there as fast as possible, and not have to deal with this again. Because there's 2 things that a car can do when it is having electrical problems. 1, it can just not start, or it can shut off on you while you're randomly, just driving along doing nothing crazy. Or 2, it can burst into flames. And I do have fire suppression on board, but I don't want to mess around and have to deal with jumping out of my car at 60 miles an hour on the freeway, having to pull over and watch my car burn up, because I did put a lot of work into this thing, and I'm not trying to have that all happen. But yeah, man, I'll get back to y'all when I'm in the process of getting this done, and you guys can see something that you can do on your vehicle at home in order to prevent any of these dumb issues from happening. Because I can tell you, if I don't have, I've had a lot of experience when it comes to troubleshooting. It's my job, but this stuff here, I know somebody at home, if you're not familiar with it, you'll be troubleshooting stuff and throwing money in parts and whatnot at a vehicle and not have a clear understanding of what you're doing. So, not saying I know more than you, I've just done a lot of more dumb shit than y'all when it comes to working on shit boxes. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Subscribe. You know, I'm over here trying to build this little channel. I do have a lot of stuff here that I could talk to y'all about, and I'd appreciate any commentary that you have as far as, you know, what y'all like to see. I mean, I can post videos all day of me doing dumb stuff, doing donuts, all right, drifting, all that garbage. But, you know, if you guys have technical questions, feel free to ask. I ain't going to be around forever, so I may as well get something out there. Anyways, like I said, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Y'all take care.